Welcome back to mini lesson number 2 in the lead up to the launch of Problem Resolver Pro, my new course for leaders working on complex community challenges. It goes on sale January 27th. In the last mini lesson, I shared something that took me years to learn the hard way. If you're working on a complex problem, housing, poverty, education, health, traditional approaches often lead you in circles. Big ideas rise and fade, funding shifts, metrics improve on paper while the problem on the ground stays stuck. So if those approaches don't work, what does? Here's what I've found, and what I've seen over and over again with the most effective leaders and teams. Until you shift how you see the problem, you keep repeating the same cycles. New plan, same stuckness. But once you start to see differently, the whole landscape changes. You begin to notice leverage points. You understand resistance. You stop wasting time on surface symptoms and start moving toward deeper, more fundamental causes. So let me walk you through the 3 mindset shifts that changed everything for me and that can help unlock your work too. These shifts aren't just theoretical. They're grounded in systems thinking, behavioral science, and the experiences of people who have actually made change happen. Over the past 20 years, I've helped leaders and organizations around the country shift their mindset to see problems more clearly and get better results. Whether it was a funder collaborative changing statewide policies, a local agency redesigning their strategy, or a national initiative advancing systems change, again and again, I've seen what happens when people stop rushing to solve and start learning how to see. The first shift is moving from urgency to understanding. When you care deeply about something, and especially when the problem is getting worse, urgency feels noble. We have to act now becomes the rallying cry, and sometimes, yes, urgent action is needed, but here's the trap. When urgency overrides understanding, you can end up doing the wrong things faster. It becomes a kind of performative momentum, action without traction. In complex systems, urgency can blind you to how the system actually works. Think about this like a doctor treating a patient in pain. If the pain is urgent, but the cause is unknown, giving painkillers might help short term, but it could also mask life-threatening issue. You need to slow down enough to study the problem, not just treat the symptoms. In my work, I've seen communities throw millions of dollars at urgent interventions, expanding shelters, funding rapid job placement, launching big awareness campaigns, only to watch the problem persist. Understanding doesn't mean delay. It means you invest in seeing clearly so your actions actually matter. The second shift is moving from silver bullets to systems thinking. Earlier, I mentioned 3 big reasons most change initiatives fail. And if you're like me, you might be nodding your head while also feeling that little flicker of hope. Okay, sure, not everything works everywhere, but what about that one idea? And that's the thing. Even after all the complexity we've just unpacked, even after years in this work, I still sometimes get swept up by a great story. A new pilot with eye-popping results, a promising study, a headline that says, this could change everything. Because wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be easier, more efficient, more fundable, more scalable if the problem actually did have an answer? That's why silver bullet solutions are so tempting. They offer a way out of the mess, a shortcut. Even smart, seasoned leaders fall for them sometimes, not because we don't understand complexity, but because we're human. You've probably seen some of these in recent years. Universal basic income will solve poverty. 1,000 or 100,000 new units of affordable housing will end homelessness. Mental health caseworkers will replace police officers to solve crime. Or the ever-present app, powered by AI, of course, that promises to connect people to the help they need. These aren't bad ideas. In fact, some of them may be essential components of progress, but none of them are the solution. Because complex problems aren't linear. They're interdependent. That means the issue isn't one thing. It's how many things interact. You don't need the solution. You need to understand the system. Here's what that looks like in practice. In homelessness, housing is critical, but so are wages, mental health services, eviction court backlogs, zoning policies, and family trauma. In public safety, you might shift certain 911 calls away from police, but What happens if the mental health system is already overwhelmed and underfunded? If you only treat one part of the system, even with the best of intentions, you might improve that part briefly, but you risk destabilizing or neglecting others. That's why systems thinkers have for decades emphasized the importance of mapping relationships, feedback loops, and delays. It's not about making things more complicated. It's about seeing things more clearly so you can act more precisely. So the next time someone says, "This is the answer," take a breath. Ask some questions. Look at the system dynamics. Because greater effectiveness doesn't come from magic. It comes from understanding the interrelationships we're really working with and being willing to make some tough trade-offs. The final shift is moving, as difficult as it sounds, from being solution-minded to resolution-minded. And this is a big one, and it took me a long time to accept. Complex problems don't get solved. And that's not failure. It's just the nature of complexity. But it's also the nature of the world. We live in a tragic reality, not in the sense of despair, but in the older, deeper sense, where not all problems can have clean solutions, where good intentions collide with unintended consequences, and where progress doesn't mean perfection, it means persistence. Some challenges, like poverty, homelessness, violence, or disconnection, have existed in one form or another as long as humans have. That doesn't mean we give up. It just means we stop pretending that they'll disappear if we just find the right tool, scale the right pilot, or work a little harder. When a problem is created and sustained by the interaction of policies, behaviors, incentives, histories, and values, there's no single fix. But there is a path forward. It's called resolution, managing the issue over time, with steady attention to learning and iteration. Think of climate change, or community safety, or mental illness. You can't solve these once and for all, but you can get better at managing them. You can reduce harm. You can increase stability. You can build trust and capacity. You can improve the system one piece at a time. This mindset shift from "we're here to solve this" to "we're here to steadily improve the system over time" doesn't shrink your ambitions. It sharpens it. It moves you from heroics to stewardship, from hype to habit, from idealism to impact. That's what it means to be a professional resolver. Over the years, I've supported leaders and teams as a consultant, a coach, a partner in systems change. And across roles, sectors, and challenges, the shift always starts the same way, by seeing the problem differently. One foundation director put it like this: "Brian helped us shift funding strategy and change state-level policy while keeping us grounded in learning from the people we aim to help." A leader of a nonprofit collaborative told me, "His tools and coaching helped us navigate a complex systems change effort more successfully." From the policy world, one advocacy director said, "He brought clarity and data that helped us shift direction and build public will." And from the public sector, a senior government leader reflected, "As a coach, Brian helped me move forward with a clear, focused strategy." These are different people, different roles, but what they all point to is the same thing. When we change how we see a problem, we change how we approach it, and that opens the door to deeper, more lasting impact. So here's the big takeaway. Solving complex problems isn't about fixing something broken. It's about learning how to work with complexity over time. Once you start to see the problem differently, everything changes. You stop chasing shiny solutions. You stop thinking the answer is just to care more, try harder, or scale faster. And you start focusing on how the system actually functions, where the feedback loops are, how the parts interact, and where small, strategic changes can shift the whole pattern. Because in complex systems, real progress often comes from counterintuitive places, a hidden leverage point, a reinforcing loop you didn't see, a small change that ripples outward. Those insights don't come from big visions. They come from clarity, from rigor, from slowing down to understanding what's really driving the problem and how you can influence it. That's why this mindset shift is just the beginning. On Monday, in the next mini lesson, I'll show you one of the most powerful ways to start making sense of complexity, so you can lead change that actually sticks. It's called problem mapping, and once you learn it, you'll never look at a tough issue the same way again. One more thing, if this mini lesson was helpful, forward it to someone in your network who could use it. It helps more than you think. See you on Monday.